The Piedmont College Theater Department presents Chicago. Here to discuss the play is the play's director, Dr. Bill Gabelhausen, and the two lead actors, Hannah Skelton and Shay Osoria. We'll begin with you, Bill. Tell us about the background of Chicago and why you chose this as the first play of the season.
Well, the background is actually very interesting. A lot of people think that Chicago began with the movie in the mid-90s, but it actually has a really long Broadway history, and it's currently still running on Broadway in its revival format. And some people don't know this, but it's actually based on two real-life murders that happened in the 1920s in Chicago. And a newspaper reporter by the name of Maureen Dallas Watkins covered these two different trials, and the characters eventually became Roxy Hart and Velma Kelly, who we see in Chicago. So it's been a blast to work on. I've been wanting to get my hands on this show for years, and it's just a really great season opener.
So was it really women that committed these crimes?
It was. Both of them killed their husbands in an act of rage and jealousy.
And they were sentenced to prison?
They were, and both eventually released and found innocent, but they did serve prison time. And Belva Gardner, who Velma Kelly was based on, actually attended the premiere of Chicago in its original format on Broadway.
What is the overall picture you want your audience to see?
Well, this musical is actually billed as Chicago, a vaudeville. So the whole show is written in a vaudeville style, very presentational, very song and dance oriented. So I've tried as a director to remain very true to that. What I'm bringing to this is to reconnect to its original roots, and we're doing almost an entirely black and white production of this, so it will have kind of a vintage film noir look. There are accents of red that pop up every once in a while, especially in regard to blood or blood on hands. So that's really what I'm hoping the audience will see. I've also admired and been fascinated and impressed by the work of Bob Fosse. So a lot of what we do is personal nods and artistic nods to his style.
Shay, you will be playing the character of Velma. Tell us about her and how you prepared for the role.
Well, Velma is definitely one of the most different roles I've ever done here. And it's also been the most challenging. And I've had so much fun discovering the whys, like why Velma does what she does and why she does it the way she does it. And throughout the show, you realize that Velma changes, like she kind of goes through this journey. And she can be easily mistaken for being really hard and like mean, sassy, and that's the easy way to play her. And the challenge and the fun part that I found is throughout the show is showing people the soft side of her shows a little more, especially at the end. And so that's the journey that I think people will see that Velma has gone through out the play.
With you being a college student and not experiencing the life that Velma experienced, was it hard for you to draw on that maturity and that headspace that you had to get into?
Yes and no. When it comes to the murder aspect, yes, but the pain, the rage that she feels is universal. Like, yeah, most people haven't killed anybody, but a lot of people can relate to the anger and the jealousy and the rage that she felt. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that can lead you to do things that you don't like. And we've all in our life have done something or experienced something that made you feel that way. And so with me, what made it a little easier was I just went back to a time in my life where I felt sad or jealous or angry and just kind of reflected on that. And my reasoning for why I did that, I kind of used to justify why she did what she did.
Every actress brings her own take, really, on the role of Velma, as we've seen from the movie production to the stage production. So it's really run the gamut. Mm-hmm. So for you, what will the audience see that's different?
Well, actually, the fact that I get to play this role means a lot more to me, mm-hmm. because in the original cast, Chita Rivera played her, mm-hmm. and she's somebody who I look up to a lot. So when I realized that that was happening, I got really excited. And one thing, kind of touching on what I said earlier about Velma, she can easily be played as just like an angry person. And the different perspective I'm going to take is she's not a bad person. She's actually a good person who just does bad things. And so when you meet Roxy and you see that she's actually a good person who kind of did bad things too, a lot of people would think that Velma doesn't like her. And I actually think in a time where people would think Velma doesn't like her the most, she likes her the most. And so I'm trying to show more of the relationship that Velma has with Roxy and show that, you know, the messed up things that Roxy does is what makes Velma like her even more. And it pushes on to the drive as to why she wants to be her friend. And so I'm trying to show that side a little more than I feel like other people have before.
There's also a special caveat to you relating to Cheetah Rivera.
Yes, since being at Piedmont, I've had the amazing pleasure of playing 2 roles by my idol Cheetah Rivera. And the first one, which is actually the first show I ever did at Piedmont, was Sweet Charity, and I got to play Nikki. And that was so fun. And now I'm in my senior year. It's one of my last shows here. And I get to play another Cheetah role where she played the original Velma Kelly in Chicago. So the fact that I got to play 2 roles by my idol, even just being here, has been a blessing and an experience.
How is your role in Chicago different than the other roles that you've played in the past?
In the roles I've played in the past, I've always had to sing, which is great. That's wonderful. I've never really had to dance. And so with this show, because it has that vaudeville feel aspect to it, there's a lot of singing and dancing, and there's a lot of singing and dancing at the same time. And that's actually a real challenge. And most singers find it difficult to already sing, yet alone sing and dance. And what's been the most challenging is pushing my dancing along with having to sing. And so I've had a lot of fun with that, but that just requires so much practice because it's something that you just can't get overnight. You just have to keep drilling it until you find the spots where things will work. And so when it comes to the dancing aspect of it, it's been challenging compared to everything else, but so much fun.
And for you, Hannah, you'll be playing Roxy. Tell us about what it's like playing one of the most iconic roles on Broadway.
Well, playing a role that's so iconic comes with a lot of responsibility because everybody knows Roxy. You know, everybody has seen what she looks like and has heard something that she sung or have seen, you know, different performances of Chicago. But I just look at it as like a huge honor because it's such a fun role. And I'm just so grateful that I have the opportunity to put myself into it and to bring my own flair to Roxy Hart and show everyone what she's got.
And just like Shay, you too haven't had the life experience that your character has had. How did you dig deep to come up with that anger enough to kill?
Well, like Shay was saying, you just have to think of something in your own life that might be similar to. And with her, she was just really, really angry at the guy. And from an audience perspective, it's hard to find, you know, a way to validate her actions. But I feel like if you think about living in that time period and just with all the situational things that were going on with Roxy at the time, you know, she just has this big picture of what she wanted with her life, and she had this big dream. And I think it was really like the ambition, like deep in her soul, that pushed her to make, you know, a really rash decision. But it was because she had a dream of what she wanted to do, and she was just willing to do anything to get there. And I feel like I also have a lot of ambition, and I'm always trying to do what I can to like reach my goal. And although, you know, hopefully I'll never go so far as to kill someone like Roxy did, but I think, you know, in her mind, she was just trying to do what was right for herself.
Now, Shay said that the dancing was challenging for her. We know from her recent award-winning performance that singing is not a challenge for her at all. Which was more challenging for you, the singing or the dancing?
I would have to say that with this show, it was neither the singing or the dancing really that has been the most challenging, but honestly, the acting portion. Just because I've never played a role like Roxy before. I don't know, just her entire persona. She's just so confident. Everything she does happens because she just believes so much in herself, and she knows like that she's got to believe that she's got it, and she's going to have that power over people, and she's got to use, you know, her confidence and her looks to her advantage. And personally, I've never been that sort of person, you know. I've kind of always struggled with, you know, am I the right look? Or, you know, is this person going to look at me in a good way if I do this? Whereas Roxy's just going for it. And so getting in touch with like the overconfident part of myself has probably been the most challenging out of this process.
And what is the overall picture you want the audience to see from your performance?
I want the audience to really get to see how important it is to believe in yourself, and how no matter, what kind of hole you've dug yourself into and you think you can't get out, with enough persistence and confidence, you can get out of it, just like Roxy Hart does.
So, getting our audience geared up for this wonderful performance, should they come expecting the same old Bill, or should they come expecting a whole new take on the play Chicago?
I think what we're going to present is a new take on this. I think it's an incredibly fresh approach to it. And I also think the listening audience should know, and as we've publicized this, it is intended for mature audience members, with the subject matter and some of the language. But just listening to these young ladies talking as actresses reminded me of the fact that it's really easy to paint these two characters, Roxy and Velma, with broad brush strokes, and they have done just the opposite. It's easy to make them villains, but they have both brought a side of humanity and vulnerability to them that, as a director, I just sit back and smile when it happens. It's wonderful to see that on stage. So I think the audience is in for an incredibly fun, somewhat scary ride. We would love for you to come out and see it.
To see the play presented by the Piedmont College Theater Department from September 29th through October 1st at 7:30 p.m. and October 2nd at 2 p.m. To purchase your tickets online, you can go to piedmont.edu/FA, or you can call the box office at 706-778-8500, extension 1355. We hope you've enjoyed this Community Life in Northeast Georgia featured podcast, brought to you by WPPR Demarest, a Georgia Public and NPR affiliate radio station from the Piedmont College Demarest campus in the Swanson Center complex on 88.3 FM. To contact us, email wppr@piedmont.edu. And if you'd like to know more about local life and events in Northeast Georgia, join in on the conversation at Facebook at WPPR Demarest. I'm Candace Felice.